Today's curtain raiser is a flattish run of just under 200 kilometres to and from the Winter Park. It has been pretty windy in recent days, but the gusts had died down by this morning, meaning there was less chance of echelons and chaos in the peloton. With no major climbs, a bunch sprint was looking very much on the cards. Each stage of the race also features 2 intermediate active sprints and a bonus sprint, which count towards the most active rider classification. That's the blue jersey. The other distinctive jerseys are given to the leader of the GC, green, the points classification, red, and the best young rider classification in white. The Saudi Tour will be taking place over 5 stages around the breathtaking AlUla region, which is home to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Hegra. 3 men got into the day's breakaway: Martin Urianstar, Polychronis Tsourtakis and Modsharul Mat Amin, but they were caught by the other 93 riders before a tricky gravel section of some 7 kilometres, only 20k or so from the finish line. There was plenty of tension in the bunch for this pinch point, and it had unfortunate consequences for one of the big overall contenders, Andrea Baccioli.
Oh, there's a big crash and a rider hitting the deck.
In the end, the Italian only suffered minor injuries to his elbow, but he lost almost 20 minutes. Yusuf Mirza then tried to catch the big guns napping inside the final 10 kilometres, but the Emirati rider was caught with only 3 to go. The big sprint favourites all battling for position as they hurtled towards the finish line in AlUla.
And here come the peloton right on the front. It's the UAE Team Emirates who get things going. It's going to be an opening out sprint here for the team of Bora Hansgrohe. Lotto Soudal with Caleb Ewan tucked in on the wheel. Caleb Ewan in a perfect position here to take this race victory on the line. Caleb Ewan wins stage number 1 of the Saudi Tour in Winter Park.
A really impressive display of power from 27-year-old Caleb Ewan, who claims that he's getting stronger as he gets older. His 2021 season was disrupted by a nasty crash at the Tour de France, but he's hoping for plenty of success in 2022, not just at the Grand Tours, but at races like Milan-San Remo and the World Championships. The Aussie doing a great job, but also full of praise for his teammates.
Yeah, obviously there's no better way to start the season than to win, so yeah, I'm super happy with that, but you know, I'm super happy with how the team performed. I really got delivered perfectly. I think I only had to sprint for 100 metres, so yeah, big thanks to them, and they did a great job.
A third win for Lotto Soudal in the space of 5 days. Ewan on top, with his lead-out man Jesper de Boist up in 4th. Bora Hansgrohe's Martin Lass was the best of the rest, ahead of Gaviria, with Groenewegen down in 12th place. So it's the Pocket Rocket who leads the way after stage 1.
Well, the Pocket Rocket prevailed yesterday as we headed into Winter Park. We are going to take the riders from Taiba University to Abu Raqqa today, a stage of 163.9 kilometres of racing. They went through the neutralised section of 3.3 kilometres. Let's bring you up to date with what's been happening out on the road. The plane is in the air today, so bear with us. It's just positioning over the race so we can pick the race up and give you the action that you've been waiting for. So yesterday, all sorts of issues in trying to get the pictures, and if you joined me for my radio show yesterday as opposed to bringing you the television pictures, then I hope that you enjoyed just the chat about the race. But today we will bring you the race. Yesterday's breathtaking stage was the passage through that UNESCO World Heritage Site of Hegra. Now today we're going to take the riders to this top of this climb. Earlier on today then we saw Jerome Myers of the Terangano team. He went on the the attack after 2 kilometres. He was rapidly caught by 2 other riders, Martin Urianstadt, again of the UNO-X team, and Polykronos Tsorzakis of Kuwait. Those 2 riders were both on the attack yesterday. Urianstadt's in the white jersey, Tsorzakis is in the blue jersey, so they've had a couple of breakaways already. And those riders got themselves into the break and started to build their advantage. After 30 kilometres, they had 4 minutes and 10 seconds. And then Thomas de Gent went to the front of the peloton and started to bring the race back together. So since then, we've seen Lotto Soudal on the front of the peloton for the majority of the time. And they have been looking to keep everything nicely under control, bring things back together as much as they possibly can. The weather conditions then at the start was 17 degrees, at the finish it's 18. The wind can't really make its mind up as to what it's doing at the moment. When we arrived here it was a headwind finish. At the moment it's a crosswind. It has been a tailwind in the last hour, so it's a bit of a swirling wind across the desert at this moment in time. So we'll just see how that affects the riders. One thing that has been happening is that whenever the riders have hit a patch of crosswind, it's not ultra strong, so it's not enough quite for echelon, but we have seen a number of crashes. There's a few riders who've hit the deck. One rider in particular who has hit the deck fairly heavy has been Dan McClay, although Dan is back up and riding. So we haven't lost any riders yet, or not that we've been updated on, but certainly there's a little bit of nervousness in this peloton today, purely because of the terrain and the wind that the riders are racing through. I drove the route, the entire route today, and it is pretty open all the way across this desert, so there's nowhere really to hide if the wind does start to blow quite hard. And there are areas when you do go into mountain shadow, which means that you've got a little bit of respite from the wind. But aside from that, it's pretty exposed. It looks like this a lot of the time. There are some mountains on either side, some big rocky outcrops as well. But the terrain is pretty unforgiving that the riders will face on their way up here. One thing I certainly noticed on the way up this final climb is it is quite a long way uphill. It takes us to significant altitude as far as the riders are concerned. But one thing that I certainly noticed is the road surface is pretty bad. So you've really got to pick your line on the way up this climb in order to get the best route to the finish line today. Well, we're just waiting for the aeroplane to position over the top of the race. It is on its way. It's been allowed to take off. So in the meantime, let's find out a little bit more about this region.
Big changes are sweeping Saudi Arabia. For the first time, the kingdom is opening the doors to international tourism. AlUla, a region located in Saudi Arabia's northwest, promises to be a leading light of this new travel industry. The region's natural beauty and archaeological riches are already proving to be a major draw. But with change comes challenge. With hundreds of thousands of visitors expected to arrive in the coming years, how should AlUla safeguard its fragile heritage sites? A new program offers a unique approach. It's called Hamaya. Khalil El-Sayer is the director of the Hamaya program.
Now we are here just to raise the awareness of locals from AlUla to protect their land, to protect their heritage.
Hamaya means guardianship in Arabic. Through lectures and field trips, students connect personally with AlUla's ancient history.
اكتشفت في دخول البرنامج حماية أني كنت في جهل كبير. تحمست كل الحماس أن أتعرف على أماكن الأثرية الموجودة في العلا.
Aisha El Metalbi joined the program just a few months ago. Now she plans to focus her studies on decoding ancient engravings.
تحمست أكثر إني أدخل تخصص ترجمة النقوش اللحيانية. هذا الشيء اللي أطمح له وأود الوصول إليه حتى أتوظف بنفس هذا الدراسة.
Along with education, students give back with activities designed to maintain AlUla's rich trove of cultural heritage and natural beauty. The ultimate goal of the Hamaya program: inspire the next generation to be welcoming ambassadors for AlUla.
AlUla is the region that we are in. It's actually a county. There is a town called AlUla. They are the sponsors of Bike Exchange. They've got Bike Exchange, have got AlUla on their jerseys, so we'll see whether Bike Exchange can try and do something today in this race. The area covers 29,261 square kilometres and a very small population of people in AlUla itself. So just bear with us, we are just waiting for the plane to position over the top of the peloton right now. Yesterday, Caleb Ewan took the sprint ahead of Martin Lass in second place. It was Fernando Gaviria showing that he's already strong this season in third place as he took a good position in that sprint. Jasper de Burst finished in fourth place after he led out Caleb Ewan, so he looked pretty strong. Nicola Bonifacio in fifth place, having taken a stage win last year, and Felix Gross was in sixth place. The last rider to finish, 19 minutes and 40 seconds down, Andrea Baggioli. And I'm told that he's got 2 stitches in his right elbow, but he's going to try and go for today's stage if he feels good. But the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team just trying to work out whether Baggioli will have the strength to come through and take this victory. And as you can see, that position, about 400 meters, is the crest of what is a little bit of a tough ramp up here to the finish line. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of riders might take today's stage. If you look through the sort of riders we might be looking at, Rui Costa, maybe Victor Della Parte, Anthony Turgis, Wilson Craddock's the sort of rider who might be able to power out of the peloton today. Baggioli of the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team. There's a few question marks over Bora Hansgrohe. Leonard Kamner coming back after being out of racing since May, and Matteo Fabro was held up in the crash yesterday. He's wearing number 52. He could be a possibility. And also don't forget Kian Uterbrooks, who is wearing number 56. Yesterday was his first World Tour race, but he has been heralded as the next big thing out of Belgium. So let's see whether Kian Uterbrooks can find his way up to the front and do something on this final climb. I'm sure Bora Hansgrohe will be quite happy to just let him loose and see whether he can bring home some sort of result in this race this afternoon. So watch out for Kian Uterbrooks. You may remember him in the World Championships. He had a crash earlier on and took him a long time, never really got back into the junior race, but he rode the entire race, showed real passion for the World Championships as he chased and chased all day behind the peloton. Bahrain victorious have a couple of riders. Santiago Buitrago and Fred Wright may well go for the victory today, and the other one I was thinking about was maybe Anton Scharmig of the Uno X team. Well, the plane is almost there, I'm told, so let's just take another look at this wonderful region.
AlUla, a region in northwest Saudi Arabia, is home to some of the world's most well-preserved ancient remains. 2,000 years ago, this was the site of a city called Hegra. Nearly 100 sandstone monuments are still standing. They are ornate tombs for the dead.
يعد موقع الحجر من أشهر المواقع في المملكة العربية السعودية، وأهمية هذا الموقع تعود إلى أنه ذكر في الكتب السماوية كالقرآن والإنجيل والتوراة.
Hegra was a southern bastion of the kingdom of Nabatea. The Nabateans commanded the region's lucrative trade route, carrying incense and spices from Arabia to Egypt, the Roman Empire, and beyond.
The spice road from south of Arabia is really so important because this product was in demand in all over the world at that time.
But a recent discovery suggests human activity here began far earlier than the Nabateans.
We're arriving now on the site that I excavated in 2014.
Wael Abu Azize and Rebecca Foote are part of a multi-team archaeological survey covering tens of thousands of sites across AlUla, an area encompassing 22,000 square kilometers.
We're doing a survey that will tell us as rich and nuanced a story as we can develop. We already know things about the major sites like Hegra, but I hope that our work fills in the gaps of knowledge in the prehistoric period.
Clues to that prehistory were uncovered here in 2014.
So where are we with respect to the Nabatean tombs?
So here we're in the western side of the Hegra archaeological site.
Researchers noticed that aside from the Nabatean monuments, mysterious stone structures dotted the summits of many rock outcrops just outside Hegra. Wael was brought in to investigate.
And what did you find?
So we have here these two segments of walls, and each one of them contains 3 rectangular compartments.
The structures had at least one thing in common with the nearby Nabatean monuments.
In one of these compartments,
they're tombs. Research teams are now actively investigating similar structures to learn just how far back into human history they go.
Let's remind you of the result so far. Caleb Ewan is the leader of this race, 4 seconds ahead of Martin Lass in second place for the Bora Hansgrohe team. Then it's Fernando Gaviria of UAE Team Emirates and Rui Costa well positioned in 4th place after taking little bonus points and bonus seconds yesterday in the bonus sprint as they came off the gravel section. So Costa's obviously thinking very carefully about his position overall and wondering how he can win this Saudi Tour. He's won the UAE Tour before. He likes racing in this region, so we'll see if Rui Costa can find himself at the front of the race today. I get the sense that Costa is looking very ready for this season already, and he knows that this is the time for him to be on form, to repay the UAE Team Emirates faith in him as a rider, and for him to try and win the UAE Tour in a couple of weeks' time. But who's to say he can't start off with winning the Saudi Tour in the meantime? That would really kick things off nicely in this region for the UAE Team Emirates. Rui Costa then backed up by Rui Oliveira, the fantastic track rider from Portugal, his countryman. Fernando Gaviria of Colombia, Felix Gross of Germany, Yusuf Mirza, who was on the attack yesterday on the run-in, and Max Urquiza of Argentina, who's normally the final lead-out man for Fernando Gaviria and the rider that they tend to use to position him. Although it looked like yesterday Fernando Gaviria kind of surfed things and was freelancing in the run-in to the finish rather than being led out by anyone. But that was just an observation. So we are just waiting for the plane which takes all the signals just to position over the top of the peloton. This is one of the soigneurs cars with the various helmets of the riders, spare helmets there for any rider who might need them. And the soigneurs will be out in the feed zone, which is just before the riders turn properly up north towards the race finish. So the feed zone for the riders, nicely positioned for them at around 72 kilometres of racing to go. There's 3 litter collection zones on the race as well, one at 9.5 kilometres to go, of course, because we're right out here in the desert. And not just that, wherever we are with a bike race in the world now, you need to be very environmentally conscious. I can remember 3 or 4 years ago saying that I disagreed with the way that some riders were just throwing wrappers and bottles and everything into the countryside as we were enjoying watching the racing. And thankfully something was done about it. So now we've got litter zones, and they are tidied up by the various organisers as the race continues. Well, thanks for joining us. We are close to bringing you race pictures. Yesterday we saw Caleb Ewan take that fantastic victory as he powered his way into Winter Park for the race finish. These are the Soigneurs who are up at the finish line, I believe, already, waiting for the riders to arrive. Now, I know yesterday everyone was... Hopefully you managed to catch up on the 26 minutes programme that was dispatched last night. Luckily, the riders on the back of the motorbikes with the camera operators, they were recording all the action yesterday, so we did manage to get a programme out to a lot of the world last night, and I hope you managed to catch up on that. And if you also want to see the digital highlights of yesterday, then just search Saudi Tour on social media and you'll find the various bits of digital highlights that you may well be looking for. UAE Team Emirates with an added number 97 there. But there they are, the 6 riders who are in UAE Team Emirates: Rui Costa, Rui Oliveira, Fernando Gaviria, Felix Gross, Yusuf Mirza and Max Rickazy. Loic Vliegen not in the UAE Team Emirates. Well, do message us in at Ant McCrossan. Bear with me. Hopefully we will be very soon with the pictures of this race as we position over the top of the peloton heading to Abu Raqqa. Thinking about the type of riders who might win today, I already mentioned Butrago, I mentioned Fred Wright also, I think, from Bahrain Victorious. Also, I think DSM could be looking at someone like Joris Nieuwenhuis to try and go for the race victory today. Well, let's see whether DSM do have a little bit of a plan to bring this race together and to position one of their riders to win today's stage. It is a big opportunity. Bike Exchange, they've got a few options. So let's take a look here at Total Energy. This is the squad for them with Bonifacio, but they've got Victor Delaparte, Alexander Genier of France. So we've got Daniel Oss, who's moved to that squad, of course, from the Bora Hansgrohe team. Nicky Terpstra, winner of the Paris-Roubaix. And Anthony Turgis of France and Dries van Gestel of Belgium. Thought Turgis and Delaparte may well be the 2 riders who try and go for this today, although Genier could be a rider that might be backed to go for the victory for Total Energies and try and get themselves a nice start here in Saudi Arabia. Of course, they've got such a change set up in comparison to last season with the arrival of the entourage of Peter Sagan. And when you add Sagan to a squad like that, he will change everything pretty significantly. Here's Team Bike Exchange, the rundown of them. Dylan Groenewegen, I don't know about you, but yesterday he didn't seem to have the legs to get on his lead-out train. So let's see whether that sprint managed to just get the muscles firing the way he needed, because yesterday he looked like he was just a kilometre an hour slightly off. Lawson Craddock wearing number 22. Alex Edmondson. Michael Hepburn wears 24. Then the Italian Konishev, the son of Dmitry Konishev. He was born in Italy, so he's got the Italian flag next to him. And then at number 26 there is Jan Maas of the Netherlands, and Luca Metgetz of the Team of Bike Exchange there wearing number 27. Luca Metgetz, a rider who is really good in a sprint from a smaller group. We'll see whether Metgetz can get up there today. I'm not so sure it's his sort of finish. I think they'll go with another option. Lotto Soudal, let's run through that team for you. Caleb Ewan, already with that stage victory. Jasper de Bus, Thomas de Gent, who's been on the front most of today. Jared Drisners of Australia, who's had his first World Tour race yesterday. Roger Kluger, they've added Rudiger Selig, and then Maxim van Giels. De Gent then being asked at the moment to stay right on the front of the peloton. Just to update you on what's happened in the race so far as we wait to go live with the pictures. There's the Quick Step team led by Baggioli. So yesterday, of course, Caleb Ewan won. Today we've got 3 riders in the breakaway. Jeroen Myers of the Terengano team broke away at 2 kilometres. He was joined by Martin Urianstad of the team of Uno X and Polykronos Tsorzakis of Kuwait. Those 2 riders were in the breakaway yesterday. They're back in the breakaway again today. And the gap has been as big as 4 minutes and 10 seconds during today's stage. So when we do get live, we should see the white jersey and the blue jersey wearer both in that breakaway group. There's been several crashes in the last hour or so, including one, unfortunately, for Dan McClay. So hopefully Dan McClay will be feeling okay to continue strongly and get himself up to the top of this climb and be there to fight another day with the various sprints that are coming up. We're running through on the screen for you the various squads. In a few moments we're going to go live to the pictures. But thank you very much for joining me. I'm Anthony McCrossan. It's been a pleasure to join you, even although at the moment we don't see any of the action. I hope that you enjoyed the highlights that we managed to do yesterday for you. It felt like a little bit of a radio show yesterday. Today I'm hoping that we can bring you some sights and sounds of this fantastic race, because the racing yesterday was superb and we all want to see it. There's the Cofidis Doctor on the right and the Soigneur as well, waiting for the riders to arrive. So to give you an idea of where we are, we're in AlUla. It's about 325 kilometres north of Medina. And this is the primary area where the Royal Commission for AlUla is driving efforts to develop the county of AlUla into a major global tourist destination. And part of the way of doing that is to have this bike race. Here's the Cofidis team with the Olympic champion Simone Consoni. Chimolai is there, Ruben Fernandez, Krida, Reynard and Zingle. That's the team of Cofidis who are in the field. Ruben Fernandez moving over to the team. A little bit of an influx of some Spanish riders into the Cofidis team. No real surprise though, Cofidis are very much trying to elevate their position in Spain. They've got sponsorship of the La Vuelta, of course, when you watch the Vuelta towards the end of the season. So there's a real reason for Cofidis bringing some more Spanish riders into their midst. Well, the sun is out. The wind is at the finish line, now turning to be a crosswind again. As we look here at the Alpecin squad, Jakob Maretsko leads the team as far as sprinting is concerned. In that team, Maurice Ballerstedt of Germany, Sjoerd Baks of the Netherlands, Simon de Haas, Xandro Maurice and Ed Planket of Belgium is the makeup of the 6 riders who are in that team. And you can have 7 riders in this start list, but some of the squads have chosen just to go with the 6. The teams that have chosen to have 7 riders, Total Energy, Team Bike Exchange have got 7 riders in their squad, so have Lotto Soudal and Quick Step Alpha Vinyl. Bora Hansgrohe the same, Bahrain Victorious also, and Team DSM. And UnoX are the other squad who have chosen to have 7 riders. Here's the rundown of B&B Hotels KTM squad, with Cyril Bart, Jens Dubusquera, Jeremy Lecroc, Cyril Lemoine, Elliot Lita and Julien Maurice. That's the makeup of that B&B Hotels team, a mix of Belgian riders and French riders. Being out on the road all the time, these soigneurs all know each other very well, and there's a good banter between them across the various different squads. This is the Arkea Samsic team, who've already got a victory this season. Dan McClay there. And then we've got de Klerk, the Olympian Grandin, Noppa and Pajur. We're just waiting then for the arrival of the plane overhead as it positions to give us the pictures. For those of you who know about how the TV pictures work, we've got the motorbikes who are out on the route. I've already had messages from them to say they are out and positioned and waiting for the peloton. Those motorbikes film the race. They send their pictures, and here we are. We are going live now to the Saudi Tour, stage number 2. The plane has taken a little bit of time to get up there, but it is now safely there. And we get a glimpse for the first time in the race of the riders in this Saudi Tour. A group of 15 teams and 96 riders. As we see here, a little bit of a chase going on. Rui Costa is coming back to the peloton. He lies 4th overall. And he's just got himself into the convoy, and he's been paced back by one of his teammates who's looking after him. As you can see, though, the pace is quite hefty at the moment. Thomas de Gent on the front of the peloton as he looks to try and drive this on a little bit. And the team are positioned 2nd. You're just trying to pick the teams out with these new kits for the season. Are the Quick Step squads, Quick Step Alpha Vinyl, predominantly blue last year, but as we look at the front of them there, just white fronts to the jerseys. So a little bit harder to pick out the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team, but I'm sure we're going to get used to it over time and be able to pick them out nice and easily. Certainly the Lotto Soudal squad is extremely easy to pick out. 30.5 kilometers to go, and here is our breakaway group of riders. Going through in the white jersey at the front of the race is Uri Anstad of the UnoX team. A long day in the saddle in the lead for him yesterday, and a long day in the saddle again in the lead for him today. The gap is only 48 seconds, as you can see. The peloton are not too far behind. In the blue jersey, we can see the Greek rider, Polykronos Trouzakis, rides for the Kuwait team. He's a real powerhouse rider, well over 80 kilos. Likes to get into the breakaway groups of riders. Must say, the way Orianstad rides, he's absolutely rock solid on his bike, isn't he? The rider in the white jersey. Thomas de Gent, just a flick of both the elbows there. A little bit of a bump coming up as we see the arrival of Rui Costa, former world champion, wearing #1 there as he returns safely, paced back into the peloton by his teammate, who's done a wonderful job for him there, Felix Gross. Gross had a good day yesterday. He finished 6th on the stage. Today he has turned to being a worker. And now he's going to move Rui Costa up. Costa just asking him to guide him up to the front of the peloton. There he is. Safely going through on that Colnago bike. Looking very, very focused today, Rui Costa. He just asked Felix Gross to move over to the left-hand side of the peloton, take him up that side so that he's out of the wind, nicely sheltered. The wind coming slightly from the left-hand shoulder now. But there is a few little twists and turns as we make our way in towards the finish line. And therefore the riders need to be quite vigilant on these various twists and turns. We're in the region of the new village of Abu Raqqa. Here's our green jersey. Now the green jersey signifies the leader of the race on time, so the rider has covered the distance in the smallest time so far, and that is Caleb Ewan. Caleb there looking resplendent in the green jersey today, getting that season off to a great start. That'll give him so much motivation for the likes of Milano Sanremo that he dearly, dearly wants to try and win in his career, and got so close to last season with the performance that he put in. He looked absolutely superb. His first time then at the Saudi Tour. These three riders know that their time in the lead is coming to an end. Because the cars are going past. And that always gives you a signal that your lead is pretty much over. Thomas de Gent on the front of the peloton, working well. The rider who has won all stages in all 3 of the Grand Tours. He's finished on the podium of the Giro d'Italia as well. Now he's decided that he is coming towards the end of his career. He doesn't like the crosswinds. We've seen some social media messages from Thomas de Gent in the past when people have said how exciting crosswind racing is, and he's totally disagreed with them. Doesn't like that sort of pushing, shoving type of racing. He prefers to work out how do you win the bike race from the breakaway. 27.2 kilometers to go. These riders working well together, but it looks like the peloton want to bring this back in time to reel these 3 in, maybe just before the 10-kilometer mark, and maybe even a little bit earlier. This is Polykronos Trouzakis. He's a rider who rode for the Greek track team during his career. He rode the World Championships a couple of times. I think the last time from memory was 2013, I think, Polykronos Souzakis. You may remember him being in the World Championships last year and being on the attack. So he's a rider who really does like to be on the attack. The pace very much up now, though, isn't it? As you can see, all of the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team sitting behind Thomas de Ghent, as he just has a little glance around to see whether anyone is prepared to help him. And the answer right now is no. Well, thank you very much for joining me. This is the Saudi Tour, stage number 2. We've got live pictures, which is wonderful for all of us to see. Back in the peloton, our first glimpse of Dylan Groenewegen wearing number 21. He's there in that blue jersey, and our first opportunity today to actually see this new bike exchange kit. The pace seems pretty high. You can see a number of riders being able to just sit in the wheels at the moment and just spin along. So clearly the wind is starting to assist the riders, give them that little bit of help that they need. The white jersey then as he goes over the speed ramp, Urian Stantz. Good move here by Myers in this Malaysian squad. He looks like he's very well prepared to help the riders out with the chase to try and stay away. But with the gap at 31 seconds, you wonder just how long it's going to be before they are reeled in. Looks like a small peloton, doesn't it, of 96 riders. This sort of level of race is allowed 50% of its field to be in World Tour teams, and then the other 50% are allowed to be from the next level down and some of the invited continental teams, which is the third tier of racing as far as squads are concerned. So it gives the opportunity for Terengganu and Kuwait to be invited here to ride this race. And the wildcard invites were given to the Alpecin Phoenix team, to Arkea Samsic, B&B Hotels and the Uno X team. A little bit of a signal there for the riders to just let the riders behind them know that there are some bollards on the side of the road. And now we have seen a changing of the guard. Quick Step Alpha Vinyl come to the front. Ilya Kaiser takes over the pacemaking. And we're going to have some tricky little climbs on the run in to the finish. 23 kilometers to go. We're up at around about 780 meters above, sorry, a little bit higher up than that on the way up to the finish. We're around 1,000 meters above sea level now, and there is a few little rollers that will test the riders out. Right on the back of the peloton, Jeremy Lecroc. And a puncture here for Kamil Gradek of the Bahrain Victorious team, waiting patiently for the team car to come up. He's going to have a total bike change in order to get back into the peloton, such is the pace of the race right now. And as you probably noticed, most of the riders, if not all the riders, riding with disc brakes. I'll just see whether we spot any of the riders who are not. So in order to change a wheel, it will take a little bit of time. Here's the profile of where we are. The riders have gone through towards this bonus sprint. .8 kilometers to go. There's the Total Energies team. You can see there with the blue shorts with the Specialized logo on the front. Because of the arrival of Sagan, who's had that long-term partnership with Specialized and also with Sportful, means that he's brought across all the different kit that the team are now using. Pace now very much up, 45 kilometers an hour. Bahrain victorious, moving up on a little bit of a compression there as they now take this right-hand turn. A few little speed bumps as they made their way out of that particular section. Head of the race is Urianstad and Myers, and on the back, Sorzakis. So a fast right-hander there. There was a little glance around to see how far behind the peloton was. It's now a long, long drag uphill, and as you can see, the wind in this particular road is a block headwind, and therefore the peloton has suddenly gone from being flat out 45 kilometers an hour to going very, very slowly uphill. Looks like this rider is starting to suffer. Polykronos Sorzakis slightly out the back.
AlUla.
Coming up then towards the bonus sprint, there are points on offer up here. So the bonus sprint about to happen, and Urianstad is looking for these bonuses right on his wheel. Is Myers of the Terengganu team, Jeroen Myers of the Netherlands, hanging on to this powerful rider from the UnoX squad. He's been the dominant figure so far in the race. The Norwegian looking for the maximum points, and the bonus seconds, goes through, takes the bonus. So Urianstad is holding on to his situation. Martin Bugge Urianstad of UnoX, the Norwegian rider, takes the bonus seconds at the top of that climb. It looked for a moment like the peloton wanted to try and bring that race back together before the bonus happened, but now they're quite happy just to ride the tempo up this climb. So there was 3 seconds on offer there, and Urianstad takes it. That's really going to help him overall in this race. Now the wind has started to relent a little bit, because once you go over the top, you get the opportunity to just have a little bit of shelter. Confirmation of the bonus. Urianstad 3 seconds. Myers took 2. Sorzakis took 1 bonus second. Over the top of the climb then, fast downhill. Now this young Norwegian rider has now moved himself into the top 3 overall with that move. 77 kilometers an hour downhill. This is the back of the peloton. A few little bumps around on this descent. You have to be a little bit vigilant. The other two riders who were in the breakaway, Jeroen Myers and Polykronos Souzakis. Oh, a problem here. And a puncture for Luka Metgetz, who tries to get out the way of the cars. Looked like he had a full blowout there on the front tyre. So Luka Metgetz now waiting for a quick wheel change. He's going to have a full wheel change here rather than a bike change. And the pace now starts to really turn up a little bit. 18.2 kilometres to go. Thanks very much for joining us for this race. Luka Metgetz gets underway. That's going to hurt the legs, and a rider who might have figured in today's race finish. Doesn't mind these punchy sort of finishes. Just gives the front wheel a little bit of a bounce. There's a lot of speed ramps here in Saudi Arabia, we've noticed as we've been driving around. And you don't always see them. They're not painted necessarily, but the organisation have gone out, of course, and signed the routes before the riders get here. And they do try and route all the different speed ramps that are out here, so the riders do get some sort of warning that there is going to be a bit of a problem for them. Now this is where we're heading next. This is the old village of Abu Raqqa. Heading through there now. A little right-hand turn. Bit of a farming community, this. And it's not unusual to see the camels crossing the road on this particular stretch of road. So a right-hand turn, that's going to give the riders a little bit of a shelter from the wind. It's going to make it more of a crosswind for them now. So we'll see whether there's any sort of acceleration in particular by the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl squad. They immediately go to the front. They're always looking for an opportunity in the crosswinds. Ryan Mullen very close to the front, as you can see. He's the rider in the white and green jersey as the Irish champion. Don't know if you've noticed, but a former Irish champion, Nico Roach, has now, of course, retired from Team DSM as his last squad. And is now on Dancing with the Stars in Ireland and doing very well, having gone from being a person by his own admission who had no coordination whatsoever to being a very good dancer in Dancing with the Stars. Over the next speed ramp. Now a two-rider breakaway. So our rider in the blue jersey, Polykronos Souzakis, back in the peloton. The head of the race is now the white jersey, Uri Anstad, who's now in the top three overall. And he's steadily moving himself up in the general classification with these attacking rides over the last 2 days. Now, as we've got a Norwegian rider, there is Souzakis. He'll just try and stay in there, in that blue jersey. Sit in the wheels and get himself safely to the finish. There's the head of the race with Myers pushing on the pace and Uri Anstad in second place. As we've got a Norwegian rider in the race, the Arctic Race of Norway have just announced that we will see the 9th edition of the Arctic Race of Norway take place below the Arctic Circle from the 11th to the 14th of August. There'll be 4 stages. And we will start from Mo i Rana, which was a host city in 2016, and we'll race to Trondheim, which is the country's third most populated area, which of course absolutely does love its cycling. So keep your eyes peeled later on in the season for the Arctic Race of Norway. It will start on the 11th of August and will finish in Trondheim on the 14th of August. That news just happened. Thanks very much for joining me. We've now got a solo breakaway and one rider goes clear. The Dutch rider has decided he's going to give it one more push to try and stay away. This is Jeroen Myers, the Dutch rider from the Terengano team. 7 minutes and 7 seconds down on the general classification. Arianstad has gone safely back to the peloton. Now he'll want to try and hold on and cleverly ride his way into the finish, because if he does so and stays with the front group, then he will be in the top 3 at the end of tonight after his performances over the last 2 days, and that's very, very well deserved by that young Norwegian rider who is in the breakaway group. Myers, though, pushing on hard, trying to hold off the rest of the peloton. So the 22-year-old Norwegian, in his first race of the season from Stavanger, now going back into the group. Right on the back of the peloton, Thomas de Gent. He wears number 33. De Gent has done a huge amount of work, and you can see by the tempo just how hard de Gent is having to work just to stay in the group right now. A little bit of a stretch for Arianstad in that white jersey. He's going to join up with his teammates. They'll be pleased that the pressure's been taken off him today, and I can imagine Kurt Arzo Arvidsson in the team car as the race team race sports director will be very impressed with the way that this young rider has taken this race on over the last 24 hours. There's our lone leader, right-hand side of the shot. There's the peloton. Any moment now, this group is going to be brought back in its totality, and then it's going to be all about the run-in to this race finish. The breakaway is over, and the rider who started it is the last to be caught. .149.2 kilometers in the lead for that Dutch rider from the Terengano team, Jeroen Myers. 149.2 kilometers off the front of the peloton. A wonderful day out for him. Problem here, and Cyril Bart has had a puncture or an issue. Problem here for Cyril Bart. He gets back on the bike. He has got a rear wheel puncture. So Cyril Bart stops at the side of the road. Not good news. I thought he might figure in today's finish as well. It's not gone right for the B&B Hotels team, powered by KTM today. So Cyril Bart out of the race. You have to be careful through these turns. The sand is so fine on the road, and a rider, there he is, he goes off the left-hand side, Cyril Bart. So it was him going out into the desert. The sand is so fine in this particular area. It blows across the road all the time, and as you drive along the side of these roads where the wind is blowing hard, you'll see little breeze blocks that have been built into little structures and that's to try and stop the sand going onto the particular stretch of road, a notorious area where it has formed. And you see these little blocks built all across these roads just to try and do something to stop the situation of the sand being blown right out there and causing problems for the traffic and for the riders in today's race. Well, it looks like these teams want to try and split this race up if possible. They really are putting in a huge amount of power now. 10 kilometers to go. They sense an opportunity to try and split the race. Powering through at the front, David Ballerini, and the gaps are starting to open a little bit. Sorry about the little bit of picture breakup. Back here with the peloton now. It looks like Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl really want to try and force the tempo and see if there's a possibility of splitting this race at all. The wind is in their favour to try and do that. It's maybe not quite strong enough, but they're going to give it a good go. And some of the riders are towards the back of the peloton who are feeling the pressure right now. Might well leave a gap and a rider can get caught out. So at the front of the race now. Look for the Quick-Step squad. They're the team now with the white shoulders, blue shorts, blue front of the jersey. I have to say it was an awful lot easier to pick them out in their previous kit. Now with all that white on the top, it's a little bit more tricky, but we'll get used to it during the season. The all-blue kit of the team previously was so simple. You could always see them dominant at the front of the race. Now the arrival of the Bike Exchange team. 3 of their riders moving forward. Further on down the group is Alexander Edmondson and Jan Maas. They're sitting in the middle of the peloton, but 3 of their riders have decided they're really going to take to the front and see if they can push this tempo on. This is the litter zone, so if you're thinking why are they throwing litter into the desert, it's because they're allowed to. There are little areas signified by the organisation to recycle the gel wrappers, the bar wrappers, the rice cake wrappers and everything else that the riders have eaten during today's race. There's always one towards the end of a stage. We've had 3 today, one at 132 kilometres. One at 61, and this final one just inside the 9 kilometres to go. DSM seem to be in a little bit of a formation. They've got Casper van Ouden on the back of the group. Big acceleration around the outside there for number 51, Leonard Kamna. Kamna, for me, could be a possible winner of today's stage. I was talking to him a couple of days ago, doesn't know how he's going to go after that such a long time out of the sport. Kamna's such a talented bike rider, isn't he? I think back to 2020 and some of the performances that Kamna put in were stunning. Tour de France stage winner, a Dauphiné stage winner, I think that was in the Megève airport. Kamna, having had that break, maybe has come back mentally refreshed. Hopefully he's at the level physically as well to do something. And let's see whether he can bring home the victory today. The red jersey is Martin Lass. On his wheel is Ryan Mullen. He just has a little bit of a chat to him. Mullen having moved from the team of Trek Segafredo. His main reason for moving to Bora Hansgrohe, as we see the return of a rider back into the peloton. Main reason for Ryan Mullen to join the Bora Hansgrohe team was the opportunity to join up with his countryman Sam Bennett. Bennett not in this race, but having moved from what was De Koning quick step over to Bora Hansgrohe, he was looking for a fast lead-out man, and Ryan Mullen is very well known as being a powerful, fast rider, particularly strong in the lead-outs. So Bora Hansgrohe have beefed up their lead-out train. They've also got Shane Archbold in it. And with the likes of their sprinters that they've got here, adding in Martin Larsson, Jordi Meus, they've got, and Danny Van Poppel, they've got a really strong lead-out train to play with when we get towards the big races. A few more moves happening, and an attack on the left-hand side, and that comes from Julius Jade from South Africa. The Kuwait rider has gone on the attack. Julius Jade of South Africa, riding for this Kuwait Pro Cycling team, launches down the left-hand side of the road. Just trying to get himself off the front of the peloton, steal a few meters and build his advantage now. Starts to build the lead. And the peloton all looking around at each other with 6.3 kilometers to go. There's a few curves round to the right and left hand as we go in towards the finish. Sorry about the little bit of picture breakup, but we'll come back to the pictures quickly. There he is, out in the lead now. The South African rider pushing on, trying to hold off the might of this peloton. 5.8 kilometers now to go. Bike Exchange positioned on the right-hand side. As we've mentioned a few times, because they are sponsored by this region, they're keen to be seen at the front. And now it's the B&B Hotels team with Jeremy Lecroc, who goes through to the front on the left-hand side, takes Elliot Liter of Belgium with him. Here's the attack. Big attack launched on the left-hand side, came from the side out of the wind and was able to really springboard forward. Nice to see an attacking, punchy style from this South African rider. Settles himself down, but now, as you can see, his time in the lead is about to come to an end. 5 kilometers to go. The road will gently rise up now, bit by bit, and then it really starts to kick inside the final 2 kilometers of racing. As we get into that final 2 kilometers, the road surf is not good either. So it's going to be a tricky run-in for these riders. Caleb Ewan moving up in the green jersey. Do not be surprised if he does take the stage win. I wonder whether it's too punchy for him, but he's going to give it a go. Think back to races in the UAE before at Hatterdam. So Caleb Ewan, if he's feeling good, if he's feeling that he's got the legs, it might be just a little bit too long for him this sprint, but let's wait and see whether it can happen again for the Lotto Soudal rider today. Sitting in the wheels then. See the various aero socks on these riders, thinking about making sure that they waste no watts whatsoever. Still Thomas de Gendt on the back of the peloton. Sort of 2 trains going on in this group at the moment. There's a problem on the right-hand side for one rider who's just swung off. Suddenly going from the front to the back. Wonder if that's another puncture. Looked like it might have been one of the Bike Exchange riders from the helicopter shot. So Lotto Soudal, red and white on the right-hand side. UNOX move forward on the left-hand side in that yellow kit. So easy to pick out, isn't it? Over another bit of a rumble strip. 3.3 kilometres of racing to go. Now the arrival of the Cofidis team. 3 kilometres to go. And our lone attacker, Julius Jade, now slips away on the wheel of Thomas de Gent. De Gent, such a clever rider though, isn't he? Able to just surf his way back in the slipstream. And now the road starts to climb. One thing that's sure this season is there is an awful lot of white at the front of the group, isn't there? Two and a half kilometres of racing to go to decide who will take stage number 2 of the Saudi Tour after seeing Caleb Ewan take the victory yesterday. Lotto Soudal lose a rider as he just parachutes his way towards the back. Alpecin Fenix moving up today, looking to try and position themselves to take this stage victory. One rider moving up in the blue and red. Still Ryan Mullen, very strongly positioned in the middle of the group. Leonard Kamner is there on the wheels. 42 kilometres an hour and we are climbing. 2 kilometres of racing to go. Who's going to win this stage today? Still de Gent is on the back of the group. Are we going to see an attack? Now you can see the way that that road bears up to the right-hand side. It really starts to rear up from here. 40 kilometres an hour. It won't be 40 kilometres an hour when we hit the next section. UNOX are looking supremely well powered now, aren't they? I don't know what it is about that kit, but it just looks so strong. The team looks cohesive. And now there's going to be riders that are going to start to drift away. 1.5 kilometres to go. Saying goodbye to the group is Martin Lass in the red jersey as the points leader. His job is done. So Martin Lass disappears. UNOX right-hand side. Lotto Soudal still looking good. Still got riders positioned. Bahrain Victorious moving up on the left-hand side with their squad as they look to try and win this stage. I think they'll go with Fred Wright or Santiago Butero. Ryan Mullen pulls the plug. A little bit further up. Riders suffering on this rise now. Wesley Creeder says goodbye. Still no main attack to try and win the stage. It's a drag race, isn't it? Number 33 is de Gent. Number 44 there is Ilio Kaiser. He says goodbye to the race as well. But at the front, the position of Bahrain Victorious is looking good. A little bit of an attack at the front of the race now for Bahrain Victorious as they start to up the tempo just a little bit. From the helicopter shot, one rider desperately trying to jump across to get onto the wheel. 1 kilometre of racing to go, and there is some daylight as Daniel Oss finds his way onto the wheel. Daniel Oss is going for glory here for the Total Energies team. This is a little bit of a surprise, but Oss is looking superb. Daniel Oss now going clear in his first race for Total Energies, and he has some daylight. 1 kilometre of racing to go. Lotto Soudal trying to put themselves into position. One rider trying to attack to go across. And that's a Quick Step Alpha Vinyl rider trying to come across to take the victory here. Getting into the wheels. Now it looks a little bit like Ballerini, or going with him Baggioli. Danielos is there, and it is Buitrago who is on the wheel. And Danielos has blown now as they near the top of the climb. Who is going to take this victory? Danielos goes backwards. It looks like we've got a bit of a fight here between the two riders at the front. Buitrago of the Bahrain Victoria squad at the front of this race now. And on his wheel it was either Ballerini or Baggioli who had gone across. Riders dropping back. So, who is going to take this race victory? No motorbike with these two riders. They are closing in on the win now. As they look around, now there's a bit of a counter-attack starting to happen. 500 meters to go. Riders have sensed that there is an opportunity, and Caleb Ewan is there. So it's Baggioli and Buitrago. Baggioli in the blue and white. Buitrago is there in the Bahrain Victorious colours, but Caleb Ewan is sensing the possibility of a stage victory here. Buitrago kicks hard now for Bahrain Victorious. Baggioli tries to go with him after yesterday, but it looks like it is going to be Santiago Buitrago who is kicking his way clear at the front of the race. It's going to be a win on stage number 2 for the team of Bahrain Victorious. Santiago Buitrago takes the victory ahead of Baggioli, and in third place Uno X get third. Caleb Ewan was up there towards the front in the green jersey. Santiago Buitrago, the Colombian powerhouse from Bahrain Victorious, wins here at the top of what was a relentless climb in Abu Raqqa. The wind blowing from that right-hand shoulder. You had to time your move to perfection. There's going to be some time lost today, but this rider got it absolutely perfect today. Santiago Buitrago takes the win. Here's the acceleration. Very well done to Andrea Baggioli today. After the crash of yesterday, the 2 stitches in his arm. Buitrago just had the sprint. For a moment, when Danielos came across to him, I wondered whether he was going to be left behind, but that wasn't going to be the case in the end. Baggioli looked superb, didn't he, in second place? Lost over 19 minutes yesterday. Maybe just those injuries cost him the stage win today. There was no doubt who was the most powerful at the top. Bahrain Victorious positioned him absolutely perfectly. A lot of work done by the team on that climb, and he delivered, and they're very happy, particularly in this region, to give Bahrain a win in the Saudi Tour. Caleb Ewan was up there. Interesting to see how much time he lost. At one point I thought he was going to attack his way across and take the stage win, but that was just as Buitrago accelerated hard. Next groups of riders pedaling their way to the top of the final climb of the day. Santiago Buitrago then making his way in a moment to the podium, just taking his time. Well, some good news then for Colombian cycling after the last couple of weeks with Egan Bernal and Brandon Rivera. So we wish Egan all the very best and hope that he recovers soon. We're hearing that he's going to have some further operations. All the very best to Egan Bernal. That's all we can wish for, is that he recovers as soon as possible. Here's that attack of Baggioli. He made his move, jumped across. Daniel Oss at this point was looking good, but suddenly the two climbers took over. But that bodes well for the season for Daniel Oss to be looking that good on these climbs. Obviously motivated. Up towards the front also was Fernando Gaviria. He was still in the group. Caleb Ewan in the green jersey. Rui Costa was there too. And it was a small group who came to the finish. Once the two climbers went, Oss started to go backwards. It's very difficult on this road. As you can see, there's so much sand being blown out. You don't necessarily get great traction. The road surface isn't great either. So a very tricky finish for the riders today. Here's the run into the finish line then. Buitrago just waiting and Baggioli leading out. Kicked it just inside 300 meters to go. I think the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team will be very pleased with the way that Baggioli has come back after yesterday's issues with that big crash in the gravel section. Just shows real strength of character from this Italian rider. Second place on the day, very close to the stage victory.
Una primera
Here is
victoria
Santiago.
De carrera a 22 años, supongo que significa mucho, ¿no?
Sí, la verdad significa mucho para mí. Realmente gracias a Dios por esta bonita oportunidad, al equipo por el excelente trabajo. Y bueno, sí, mi primera victoria en la categoría profesional. La verdad, muy contento, no me lo creía hasta que pasé la meta. La verdad, muy contento, muy contento.
¿Puedes hablar un poco de este final?
Very happy. His first professional win. Gives thanks to his team. A significant victory today.
Cuando vi la pancarta de 1 kilómetro a meta, me sentía muy bien. Intenté tirar para adelante.
Felt good in the last kilometer.
Creo que Daniel Oss venía detrás de mí. Y bueno, comenzó a tirarme durísimo, durísimo para terminar ahí el final. Cuando nada, me entraba Baggioli y decía, bueno, es un final difícil, sabía que él es muy bueno al sprint, entonces tenía que ser un poco inteligente al final, ¿no? La verdad, intenté anticipar y bueno, me ha salido muy bien. Estoy muy contento, la verdad, han sido 2 etapas bastante difíciles, pero el equipo, un trabajo excepcional, excepcional. La verdad, muchas gracias a ellos y bueno, a todos en especial.
Well, the team obviously exceptional today. Thought the finish was very, very difficult, but managed to take the victory. Had to be patient on that tricky finish to the line.
Estamos corriendo aquí en Arabia, la verdad para el equipo esto es muy importante, entonces de todas maneras igual para mí ganar esta carrera, la verdad que sería una muy bonita motivación para empezar el año.
Gracias.
A ustedes, muchas gracias.
Well, a lovely recap there by Santiago Buitrago. A significant victory for him in the colours of Bahrain victorious, and of course reflecting on the fact that it's very important for them in this particular region to win races. Santiago Buitrago takes the win ahead of Andrea Baggioli. And good to see the likes of Daniel Oss up there, and gives you an indication also Caleb Ewan in that chase group on the climb. Certainly the climbing legs are there. We wait then for the podium presentation of stage 2 of the Saudi Tour. Tomorrow we're going to ride from the Timer Harajwel down to the AlUla Old Town itself. Confirmation then of the results. So it was Santiago Buitrago ahead of Baggioli. It was Sharmig, the rider I was talking about earlier from UnoX, who took third. Maxime Van Gils in fourth. Caleb Ewan there in fifth place at only 7 seconds. Zingler of the Cofidis team was there as well. Rui Oliveira in 7th. And Daniel Oss still held on to take 10th. Well, I know that UnoX have been thinking about Anton Sharmig as the possible winner of this race. They certainly want to position him for that penultimate day that's coming up. A very, very tricky climb on stage number 4. And he's done well so far. He's up there already in 3rd place on a stage. Anton Sharmig is the Danish rider in that predominantly Norwegian team of UnoX. A replay then of that final sprint up to the line. There's Sharmig crossing the line. Maxime Van Gils, Caleb Ewan. We'll wait and see whether Caleb has held on to the jersey. Thank you very much for joining us today. We finally managed to bring you the pictures of this race and get the opportunity to see the new kits of the Peloton for 2022. I hope you've enjoyed the racing. In a few moments, we'll present Santiago Buitrago of Colombia as the winner of stage number 2. Bahrain victorious, the team made up of Kamil Gradek, Filip Maciuk of Poland, those 2 Polish riders, Ahmed Madan of Bahrain, Jonathan Milan of Italy, Jascha Sütterlin, and Fred Wright. Just crossing the line now. I think that was Ahmed Madan just coming across the line at the back of the group in front of the broom wagon. So all the riders are now in. Around this region there are these incredible tombs. This is the tomb of the Lian, son of Kuza. Incredibly sculpted out of the rock. There's around about 130 just tombs around Hegra, where we were yesterday. Such significant. Let's just turn our attention quickly then to the general classification. So Santiago Buitrago is the leader of the race, ahead of Caleb Ewan at 7 seconds now. Then it's Sharmig in 3rd, Rui Costa in 4th, and Maxime Van Gils in 5th place. This is AlUla Old Town. Santiago Buitrago, the stage winner today. He'll also take the leader's green jersey. Caleb Ewan will end up behind him, courtesy of the bonus seconds. They've basically evened each other out in bonus seconds taken. So Buitrago took it ahead of Baggioli, with Sharmig at 7 seconds in third place. So he'll pull on the green jersey as the race leader and wear it on the roads tomorrow as we go to AlUla Old Town. Santiago Buitrago, the race leader now after 2 stages. Let's remind ourselves of the general classification. Santiago Buitrago 7 seconds ahead of Caleb Ewan. Sharmig nicely positioned in third. Rui Costa stays in fourth. And there's the riders queuing up behind, thinking about the overall victory. Van Gils, Consoni also there in 7th place. Cyril Barnes, he recovered well, didn't he? Comes in 8th place overall now on the general classification. Caleb Ewan will swap the green jersey for red tomorrow. The Lotto Soudal rider, Caleb Ewan, now in red. Here's the points classification. Ewan has a 5-point advantage on Buitrago, with Martin Lass, who wore the red jersey today. He's in 3rd place. The best young rider jersey will be the race leader, Santiago Buitrago. He's going to pull that jersey on now and be presented on the stage.
المتصدر بترتيب الشباب تحت 26 سنة أفضل دراج شاب الكولومبي من فريق بحرين فيكتوريوس سانتياغو سانشيز.
Santiago Buitrago of Colombia, the best young rider as well as the race leader. Here's the best young rider classification. So Buitrago leads ahead of Sharmig in 2nd at 13 seconds. And then it's Maxime Van Gils in 3rd place. Most active rider jersey. This rider's been certainly the most active so far. Martin Bugge Urianstedt. Blue jersey for him. Is he going to go on the attack again tomorrow? He's done it 2 days running. Let's see if he's got the legs again.
شكرا جزيلا لجميع المشاهدين في هذه المرحلة. شكرا لجميع المشاركين كذلك. نلتقي بإذن الله في المرحلة القادمة المرحلة الثالثة ومغامرة جديدة.
What a wonderful race this rider is having so far.
شكرا للجميع.
Here's the most active rider classification. So Uranstad has 17 points. Sorzakis has been on the attack with him 2 days running. He's now in second, and Myers in third place after today's breakaway.
Well, Caleb, certainly that's the disappointment of losing the green jersey, but you must be satisfied with the legs because you were there in the battle, not very far behind, especially with that steep finish.
Yeah, you know, we knew it was going to be really tough today, but yeah, you know, it was an opportunity that that we didn't want to miss. So we said, all right, we'll try it and see what happens. And yeah, you know, I wasn't too far away, but yeah, like I said, it was always going to be super hard for me to win here.
But I mean, I suppose you must be satisfied with your form so early in the season. It's promising for the weeks, months to come.
Yeah, you know, it's something I've been working on my climbing. So yeah, to be already in this kind of shape where I wasn't too far off the win on such a hard finish is definitely positive going into the rest of the season.
7 seconds behind now in the GC. Sprinter stages to come. I suppose you're pretty optimistic to maybe reconquer the green.
Yeah, you know, there's obviously an opportunity tomorrow if I win and get the 10-second bonus, but yeah, obviously to hold on to the green jersey to the very end is going to be super hard, and yeah, not realistic. But yeah, you know, there's still another 2 chances to come, so we'll go for those ones full gas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fighting talk from Caleb Ewan, who's obviously motivated to try and bring another victory tomorrow. Just a recap then of what happened as Buitrago came up, looked at his team, and then attacked. Just set things up nicely. Daniel Oss, he was receptive to that attack. Daniel Oss, who isn't well known for his climbing ability on these sort of climbs, but he looked very good indeed. So Daniel Oss and Buitrago going clear. Inside the final kilometre of racing. This was the counter-attack from Baggioli. Baggioli really got across that gap quick, didn't he? When he moved, he looked superb. Immediately jetting Daniel Oss out of the back. As they went for the finish, though, Buitrago was very, very clever. He had slipstream from Oss, he had slipstream from Baggioli. He only made one big attack, then waited, and then finally pounced to take the stage. There's the gap opening up. Anton Sharmig, as you can see, though, he closed quite a significant gap. Baggioli at this point trying to get Buitrago to do a little bit of work, but he was having none of it. He played the game well. Followed, and then hit him hard. Just getting himself ready, wasn't he? And when he kicked, Baggioli didn't really have a response. He tried, and he tried hard, but the Colombian was just too fast. After that big crash of yesterday, though, Baggioli can have a smile back on his face.
Well, Martin, another day in the breakaway. That's the only way that you can get the jersey. You must be exhausted.
Yeah, it's been a couple of hard days, but we have a good cooperation, me and Polikronis in the breakaway, so yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, because you're showing that you have a great form. I mean, to be in a breakaway, a long breakaway yesterday, 2 times actually, and again today for close to 150 kilometers, you're showing great performances.
Yeah, it's not the shape feels good, so I'm happy with the form so far in the season. It's a good start.
This jersey was an objective when you started the Saudi tour, or it's become an objective now?
The plan was to be active and stay in the front and see what could happen, and this was part of the plan, so we're happy.
A very good Saudi tour for the moment for the UNO-X team. You have the blue. Your teammate Charming has the white jersey on his shoulders. He was third today. You must be, as a team, very satisfied.
Yeah, we are really satisfied. The guys are really strong. Also, yesterday I got help to be in the breakaway, and today they did a really good job having control in the peloton and bringing Anton in position in the last climb so he could get third on stage. And tomorrow we will have the youth jersey, so 2 jerseys on the same team. That will be good.
And you'll be in the breakaway tomorrow?
We'll see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They're an active team, aren't they? They want to get in the moves, they want to create the race, and they are doing that very well. Confirmation then at Randstad is leading that most active rider with Souzakis in second place. And his teammate will wear the best young rider jersey tomorrow because Buitrago can't wear those 2 jerseys. He'll loan it to Anton Charmig tomorrow. Just a reminder then of the general classification before we think about tomorrow's stage. Buitrago leads after 8 hours and 25 minutes of racing so far. Caleb Ewan at 7 seconds. Can he win tomorrow, take the bonuses and take the jersey back? There's a big opportunity for that, certainly on the run-in tomorrow. It's more of a sprinter's day. Let's take a look then at tomorrow's stage as we go from Taima Hadajwel to the AlUla Old Town. Stage of 181.2 kilometres, tracking their way through the desert as always and taking the riders into this magnificent Old Town for a race finish that looks like, unless the wind blows, it will be a sprint. Let's see whether the UNO-X team go back on the attack tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.